Hello! Welcome to Sinner Saint Sister. This is a space where spirited, hurting, searching, faithful people come together and ask hard questions and listen to some really wise people share about how they have lived life deeply. If this episode spoke to you, I hope that you leave a review and subscribe. You can visit YouTube/Allison Sullivan for some really fun extras. I hope you hear something today that lets you know you are loved and helps you love one another. Welcome to Sinner Saint Sister. From the book of Isaiah, a shoot will come up from the stump of Jesse. From his roots, a branch will bear fruit. The Spirit of the Lord will rest on him, and he will delight in the fear of the Lord. He will not judge by what he sees with his eyes or decide by what he hears with his ears, but with righteousness he will judge the needy. With justice he will give decisions for the poor of the earth. This sprout, it promises us Jesus. And this is just how Jesus came to us. No pomp, no circumstance. He was a king, and yet he just became one of us in our most fragile form, a newborn baby. A God who came to us in the most extreme example of humility that people of his day called it backwards. Advent, it tells a story about the resilience of hope and the creativity of the Spirit and the coming of Christ in our midst. And when we think all is lost, there it is. A thrill of hope, a shoot from the stump. The goodness of God and the promise of God are so much more resilient than we might even imagine. With God's faithfulness and love, new life is possible. We serve a king born in a manger who changes everything. Mary Lenaburg has pointed me to this truth so many times that I knew her wisdom was just what I needed this year as I worked to lean into hope, peace, love, and joy, and prepared Jesus' room to do in my heart what he needed to do, what he does best, to love and to redeem. You will love every word out of Mary Lenaburg's mouth, and this conversation will feel just like the hug you may need. Friends, you might not know this, but I wrote a book. It's a spiritual memoir of sorts and puts a modern day spin on old parables that are still so applicable to our everyday lives. Judgment, forgiveness, evangelizing, heartbreak, joy. I'd love for you to grab a copy. Head on over to Amazon and look for Rock, Paper, Scissors by Allison Sullivan. Hello, Mary Lenaburg. I'm the only thing better than looking at your precious self right now would be if we were on this couch together. I am so delighted to see you and just get to dive into conversation with you because you make my soul so happy. This maybe is going to sound a little melodramatic, but I am melodramatic, let's be honest. But there are these people in your life that are like good for your nervous system. You know what I mean? Where it's like, I feel so peaceful and well nurtured in your presence. I absolutely adore you. I'm so glad that you're here. Welcome.
Oh my gracious. You're going to like start this whole thing off with me weeping. This is like, it is, I'm just so excited. First of all, to see your beautiful face. It's been too long since I've actually been in your presence, your physical presence. But it's a delight for me to be here. I feel the same way about you. There are people that settle your nervous system. There are people that kind of fill your soul. And there's a group of women that you and I are a part of. And all of those women do that for me in different ways. Like they're all in different seasons of life, but it's just like, it's just the best group hug ever.
Yes. So. Well said. So we did this conference together, and I'm delighted by you all the time. I'm convicted by you in the most loving of ways. I'm nurtured by you. I'm taught by you. I'm delighted by you. And one of the most delightful moments that I have ever experienced from a speaker was if you have not heard Mary Lenaburg speak, like, make it happen, invite her to your thing, go find a place where she's speaking. But the highs and the lows and the laughs and all of it woven together is just pure artistry. And you were in a lane, man. You're like sprinting in this lane. You're going. I mean, you have us in the cup of your little hand. We are yours. Okay. And so then you get to this moment and you just take a pause and you look out at us and you say, I don't know how to land this plane. Like, you were like, I'm done. I have nothing else to say, but I don't know what to do here. So I'm going to go now. I love y'all. Goodbye. I have never felt so, the lack of pretense, the lack of presumption, the ownership of exactly where I am right now. Here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I'm feeling. You can have it all. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it was just such a testament to you get all of me. Oh, love it so much.
And you got all of me. You got all of me.
Yes,
it was one of those very interesting moments where really the Holy Spirit was driving the train. And I had my notes. I had done my preparation. It was kind of like the broken motherhood sort of talk of this conference that we were doing, and overcoming brokenness with the Lord and Our Lady with us and the feminine genius all rolled into one. And I was nervous about the talk because it was kind of, they wanted it to be a little bit higher brow than what I have been given by the Lord. And so I took this beautiful theology of the body, which is just this thing that terrifies me. And I brought it to my level. And I literally, the Holy Spirit was driving that train, and I came to the end of the tracks, and there were no words. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I'm just going to go. I'm going to embrace it. They just started laughing, and they were like, okay, we're done.
But more so, I'm going to be so fully present that I don't know how to not tell you the truth. How about that?
Exactly.
Like, wow.
Well, who has time to be anybody but themselves? This is something that I've come to in the last 10 years of my life. I don't have time. You know, that idea of fake it till you make it. That was drilled into me as a kid, drilled into me as a young adult. You just got to push through. And there came an event in my life I couldn't push through. And I'm like, fake it till you make it. What is that? That means nothing to me. God doesn't want me to fake it. And I'm certainly not going to make it without him. So why don't we just kind of settle into who God made me to be? Not Allison, not Karen, not Catherine, not anybody else, but me. And that took me a while to kind of walk through and meet this woman and get to know her and get to love her and get to challenge her. And so I'm kind of in a place now when we were together at that conference where I'm like, I got nothing else.
So, oh gosh. You know what it reminds me of?
The bar's open.
This might be a loose comparison, but I'm going to go with it just for a quick second. So you know how if you're watching Saturday Night Live, I mean, forever ago, it's been forever since I've seen an episode of Saturday Night Live, but you know how the most treasured moments are the moments where they break character, and you can see them kind of start to laugh with one another, and you're like, that's the real stuff. That's what, you know, like.
Do you remember the Carol Burnett show, right? Way back when you can see reruns on YouTube. And those are the best episodes when you have the four of them that they can't look at each other because they're going to laugh, or they just start laughing and they hide behind the sofa, or they turn from the audience, and you're just dying because you're like, yes, it is that funny.
Because we've all felt that. Like, that's so relatable. Yes. We've all had the giggles in church when we're not supposed to, you know? And so there's something about somebody just embracing that moment going, yes, there's room for all of me here, even the parts that seem imperfect, but embracing that imperfect moment is what makes it absolutely perfection. So anyways,
well, we're all broken. So
yes,
you just got to see it.
I don't get enough of you, Mary Lenaburg, but I feel like the Lord restores these things in heaven. It's like, we're going to have mansions next door. It's going to be fine. But like right now, I wish I had more of you in my day-to-day life. I love you so much. So welcome to the show, by the way. Do you mind introducing yourself to people who might not know and love you yet? Can you introduce yourself by telling us who and what you love?
Oh, who and what I love. First of all, I'm a child of God. I'm a daughter of the King. I am restored and redeemed and remade in his image and likeness. And I am sitting here because of that. So
Mm.
number one. Number two, I'm Jerry's wife of 34 years now. We were blessed with 4 souls. Two we didn't get to hold this side of heaven. And then our son, Jonathan, who he recently, last year, got married at the age of 32. He's now 33, and he has a baby boy named Jude, who's just the light of our life, and his beautiful wife, Jessica. And then our daughter, Courtney, went home to the Lord at the age of 22, 8 years ago, this December 27th. And she was the light and heart of our home. She had a seizure disorder that we discovered at 5 weeks of age. And through just a series of events, medical interventions that didn't work, all kinds of things, she ended up being wheelchair bound, nonverbal. She didn't walk. But she had the most beautiful blonde hair and blue eyes, and she was the face of Christ to us.
Mm-hmm.
So that's who I am and who I love. And I'm an author. I've written 2 books. Again, the story of redemption. I'm dyslexic. I didn't learn to read till I was in the 3rd, going into the 4th grade. Here I've written 2 books. My school teachers would be rolling over in their graves, right? Like they didn't see that coming.
I love it.
Like
I love
redemption.
it. Yes.
And I speak internationally, just about God's redeeming love, all about overcoming hard things. Here we are in this beautiful season of Advent. I know we're going to talk about, but God takes away the sting of death. He takes away our sins. He comes for us. And that's what I talk about.
We could talk about so many things. I mean, even just with who and what you love, there's a million different tangents I would love to go on with you. So you're just going to have to come back again and again. But
of course,
today I would love to talk about Advent a little bit, because I feel like, and I know that I'm not alone in this. I mean, it's our culture. It's how we live. But it's hard for us to choose peace in this season. We are spread so thin. There's so much anxiety and even resentment, exhaustion.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these things we kind of value as a society. It's like we wear busyness as a badge, or, it's noble to be exhausted. But I feel like we need your shepherding in this moment, because one of my very favorite things about you, I can't quit actually naming favorite things about you, but I feel like I could call you at 3 a.m. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I feel
and I would answer the
like,
phone. Absolutely.
Yes. And I mean, I would prefer to knock on the door, but whatever. But I know that I could tell you how my heart hurt.
Yeah.
And then, and you would nurture that. Like you would validate the feelings that I was having. And you would maybe like reframe a few things for me. You would show me some bright sides. You would point to Jesus and all that jazz. You would do that. But then, Mary, you would let an appropriate amount of time go by and you would show me my responsibility.
Yeah.
You would so lovingly instruct and then convict, and it would feel like love when you did it. And so my hope for this conversation and for this episode is that you can do this for us around Advent. Because this is a time where it feels like tensions are magnified. It's like, I think that there's the holiday, it's like it's shining a light on a gap between how we want things to be and then how they actually are. And we want so badly for this time to be a time of starting over. I mean, it's kind of the end of something and then the beginning of something. We would love for this to be a time of reconciliation. But the truth of the matter is that our families aren't going to get lobotomies. Our calories aren't going to quit doing what calories do. We're not going to win the lottery. Like there's all these things that are reality. And we can't tell the sun what to do. It gets dark at 4:30. Like that's just where we're at. So anyways, it turns out that there isn't actually magic in Christmas. And so we kind of have to deal with what is. Mary, when the holidays have gotten the best of you, what are some of the reasons for that? Like, what are the things that kind of make you a little weak, or have made you a little weak around this time?
So the timing of this is truly Holy Spirit just the little disco ball of the Holy Spirit is here.
I love a dancing Holy Spirit.
Well, you've got to remember, the Holy Spirit is the great encourager, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's the one who brings hope, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's the one who Jesus left with us to say, you're not going to be alone. Like, I'm going to be in heaven. Like, you won't see me, but you've got him. And that
he says is better. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
So I always think of him at Christmas time. The Holy Spirit is the glass ball that doesn't shatter. It's beautiful and shiny and important and vintage and has all of these memories and has been through all of this stuff with you. And you put it on the tree so gently, but one time it goes and it doesn't shatter because the Holy Spirit doesn't shatter, right? He brings life and he brings hope to all of us. So when you were describing, how I mentor people, how I have learned to be mentored myself, I have two gifts that the Holy Spirit has given me and two charisms. One is of wisdom, which I think is hysterical because I have never considered one of my wounds is that I'm not smart enough or I'm not enough. And so to have this charism, it's like, you mean I'm smart? Well, I'm smart with the heart. That's what wisdom is. It's heart smart, right? It's I can hear what's broken within you and I can hold space for that, right? But then with my second charism of mercy, I'm going to, yes, show you Jesus in that. I'm going to encourage you in that. But I'm also going to remind you that just because you have laid your burden down doesn't mean you don't stop walking, right? It just means you're now walking with Christ next to you. And when you trip and fall, he's there to hold you and carry you and encourage you. And when you feel strong enough, he's there to say, good job. And then when you fall again, he's there, right? We're just never alone in that. And so it is a great privilege for me and a joy to hold people's brokenness. It's just something God has asked me to do. And I think it comes from my own brokenness, from my own upbringing and things that I chose for myself that still have impact in my life today. Yeah. So what happens when your Advent is broken? Everybody's Advent is broken. It is. But it's broken by degrees. So 8 years ago during Advent, my daughter Courtney was dying. So our Advent was literally walking my daughter home to God. And that is a soul-changing, heart-changing experience. And I have never looked at Advent the same. This idea of waiting. We're waiting for the baby to come. Well, I was waiting for my baby to go, right? And so it changes your perspective. And yes, is it heart-wrenching, awful, sad, all of those things? Yes, but it's also beautiful because she was going home to the one who made her, the one who was waiting for her. Her job was done. She had completed her mission. Okay, so you've had an Advent like that. I come 8 years later and I'm back in this similar space. We have a family member who is fighting for her life. And I, I'm like, oh my gosh, here we are again. Why is it always December? Blah, blah, blah. And I have to sit down. You have to sit down. Number one, you want to know what I do? I sit down. I stop moving. I sit down. I sit down outside on my front porch, even though it's cold, wrap my blanket around myself and let the winter sun shine on my heart. And I know it sounds corny and it sounds whatever, but I'm telling you, 10 minutes of sunshine will change your freaking life.
Agreed.
Okay. So today's a rainy day. So I've had to all the lights are on in the house. I've had to really work at it today.
Yeah.
But you sit down because God, he's waiting for you, right? And he'll leave the 99 to find you, but he's walking with you. He's not chasing after you necessarily, right? He's pursuing you. But if you want to run away from him, he's going to be there and say, well, when you're ready, I'm right here, right? We think of the prodigal son. The father waited for him, prayed for him. And then when he saw him on the horizon, he ran to him. And so that's kind of what I think of God during Advent, during Lent even. He's waiting on the top of the hill. Like, is she coming? Oh, she's coming. There she is. And then he runs to meet us, right? Yeah. So the first thing I do is I sit down and I get still because the world is insane. And you said, there was a badge of exhaustion. My friend Rachel Balducci calls it the tyranny of the urgent. And I'm like, enough of that. Yeah. Enough. So get still, number one. Number two, what is Advent all about? It is not about a Pinterest-worthy Christmas.
Right.
It's about a little baby born in a manger, a poor, innocent, lowly being, but he is fully God and fully man. So God, in the form of Jesus Christ, the Son, God gave us his Son to pay the price for our sins. Like he gave up what was most precious to him for us. So what are we willing to give up for him?
Mm-hmm.
What is most precious to us that we're willing to give as gift, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's this idea of an exchange of love.
Yeah.
So you're sitting still, you're allowing the sunshine to heal your body, and then part heals your heart and your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're taking that healing and you're passing it on. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you're getting still, you're listening for that still small voice.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third thing is that pouring out.
Yeah.
So where do we pour out? Right? There's a saying that I say all the time. You have to fill your well in order to love well.
Yeah.
Okay. And Advent to me is all about filling the well.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm taking these things out of my heart because they have no place there. I'm Catholic. So like I go to confession, I'm taking that out and we're putting it there. I'm taking that out. And what does that mean? That means there's more room in the inn, right? Remember the part of the Christmas story, there's no room in the inn. Well, that's how we enter Christmas. We have no room in our inn.
Yeah.
And so we come to Bethlehem, the house of bread, and we are already filled. Our eaten pants are stretched and, we're just like balloons. And God's like, yeah, you're not going to fit through the door of the inn. So how about we sit down, we take a moment, we assess the situation, and we make a better choice.
Yeah.
A lot of people react to their lives.
Yeah.
And they're not driving their life. They're not, they do this unintentional victimhood. Oh, well, but we have to do it this way. Oh,
yeah.
Seriously, remove that word, have to.
Uh-huh.
Oh, but no, woulda, shoulda, coulda. No, you don't.
Yeah.
My Advent is not going to be Allison's Advent because I'm not Allison, and Allison's Advent is not going to be mine because you're not me.
Yeah.
Our houses are going to be different. Our family makeup is different. Our marriages are in different seasons. Our children are in different places. Our parishes are different parishes. Our communities are different communities. They cannot look alike because we aren't. And everybody's trying to have a cookie cutter Advent.
Yeah.
And I just don't have time for that. Yeah. I don't have, I have more time behind me lived in life than I do ahead of me. It's just a fact. And I want it to mean something. I want my life to mean something. I want to be able to stand before the Lord and say, I didn't always do my best, but when I figured that out, I tried to do it again. Yeah. And you were with me. And as St. Therese of Lisieux said, I want to show up in heaven, leaving everything I hand here, empty-handed. Yeah. I'm going to show up with Jesus totally empty-handed. Why? Because I've done it all here.
Yeah.
I've left it all here. I would rather suffer here than miss the gate.
Yeah. So much of what you're talking about as far as antidote to the hecticness of the season is about a shift in perspective. There's a remembering. Scripture's always telling us to remember. We have to return to the cross again and again and again to remember this great miracle. And there's probably no more necessary time than when we feel really, really spread thin. There are these demands on us. Like the school is asking for things. The church is looking for volunteers. People in my community are hungry and would like a nice meal. There are very noble ways to extend ourselves. But I feel like what you're asking of us, which is just that moment, which we never allow. It's so easy to fill moments, even if it's just with a meaningless scroll. But there goes the moment, it's gone. And so, but that moment to remember feels pretty foundational to fixing all of the specific things that go awry. So I love that first, like just foundationally as a piece of advice, let's get still and remember. Let's get still and fix some perspectives. Do you mind if we get specific? Because I feel like there are some serious unrealistic expectations for this time. So what are ways that expectations have kind of set you up to fail? Set you up to, if it weren't for this lofty expectation, if it weren't for this ideal, how can we reconcile a non-idyllic experience? How do we make that okay in our spirit?
Okay. So this is the idea of surrender, right? Surrendering our expectations to the Lord. What is an expectation? It's perfectionism on the flip side. It's the ugly, undersided goo of the rock that when you flip over perfectionism, what's there? Expectation.
Yeah.
Okay. So expectation
good.
is always going to lead you to disappointment. That type of expectation.
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't expect good things for yourself. Don't expect, be treated with respect. You have worth and you have value and a dignity as a human being. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about it has to be this way. It has to be this way. What has to be this way?
Yeah.
The liturgical year is built for these moments of rest and these moments of slowness, for lack of a better word.
It's prescribed.
Advent, exactly. It is. Christmas is only 12 days. But the minute that turkey is sliced, we are in Christmas.
Yeah.
Which is why we're all exhausted. Advent is 4 weeks of quiet preparation.
Oh my gosh, that's such a good point.
Slow and steady, right? There's some beautiful things you can do. If you're a person that loves to put up the Christmas tree, as you're cleaning up the Thanksgiving dishes, great. Put up the tree and put on the lights and stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the next week, add the ribbon. And then the next week, add the ornaments. And then the next week, add the whatever, right? Take it slow because you're going to get to the same end result. You're going to have the beauty and the thrill and the glitz and the whatever it is on your Christmas tree or your Christmas decorations. I think the only things that ever, if you have to have a have to, which you don't, none of these things have to be done. There were seasons in my life when my daughter was in the ICU and there was nothing done to this house. Yeah. And we literally had a Charlie Brown tree and gifts for my son so that he felt loved and remembered. Could I do anything about that? Sure. I could have ruminated and worried and gotten myself really sick with cost? All of that because of what was costing my son. Or we could just embrace the season we were in and God would fill in the gaps with something else. So if you want like a basics, if you have a nativity or you have a little statue of the Holy Family, great. There you go. It's something to meditate on during your prayers. You're looking at that. The nativity that's behind me used to come out in sections. So first you'd have the stable. Then you'd have the next week where the animals would come. And then Jesus and Mary would come during the third week. And my son would set it up. So it was something to bring him to. An Advent wreath. Okay. Maybe that's all you have. You have a wreath with the 4 candles. Do the 4 candles have to be 3 purple and 1 rose? No. Does the church like it that way? Of course. And when you go into a church, it's beautiful. But if you go to the dollar store and all they have is razzle zazzle, magenta and lime, then guess what? Hey, you're lighting a candle for Jesus. Okay. Jesus don't care what color it is.
No, he doesn't. He's not interested.
He's not interested. You know what? He's happy. He's happy you thought about him. Yeah. And he's happy as a family. You're sitting down to dinner and somebody's lighting the razzle dazzle magenta.
Yes.
That's what he's happy about, right?
I'm off to find some razzle dazzle. That's what I'm doing after this.
Razzle dazzle yourself. What happens is these expectations come from social media.
Yeah.
They come from our comparison with one another. Comparison. Yeah. Comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. We have all of these expectations. So here I am in this Advent and I love Christmas. Like it is my love language. I am a St. Nicholas girl. Fall is my favorite season, going into winter, my second favorite season. Like I have curtains that have Santa Claus. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a sickness for me.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Like even my husband, who is a minimalist, is like, please tell me you're not putting out the St. Nick curtains. Please. I can't. And I'm like,
if
no,
I have them, I can't not.
I mean, I can't. I mean, I have them, but I had to we're just in a season where we're not here a lot in our home because we're caring for a sick family member and doing all of these things. And I just can't, because then I'm split, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I got to set this up at home. Oh, I've got to go take care of this person. Oh, I've got to do this at home. Oh, I've got to go do this. No, God wants you to be present.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really
present. And if you're not lighting a candle, great.
Yeah.
Are you thinking of him?
Yeah.
I mean, how many years did I make the Advent paper chain wreath with all of the scriptures glued into the links of the chain?
Yeah.
How many years? So many years. Because all Jonathan wanted to do was rip it open because he was a boy. Did he care about the scripture? No, he just wanted to rip it off. So one year I didn't put the scriptures in there and he just ripped it all off. It was
but same joy. Yeah.
Same joy.
Same joy.
But that's the thing. Everybody thinks they have to do something. Like, you're not Christian enough if you do this. You're not Catholic enough if you do this. Well, sister, if I am bound to those comparisons, then I'm not, I'm just, forget it. Lay down and go.
Yeah. Right. Good.
I just can't.
Okay. Can we talk about financial stressors? Because somehow I think that we think that we are going to magically become rich around this time of year. And I am certain that it's not important. I am certain that I know with my head that this is not what this is about. And yet.
Why?
Why do you think what am I doing?
Comes from that comparison, right?
Yeah.
Kids go to school. So kids are sitting in a classroom in school, or even homeschoolers. They're in a homeschool co-op, whatever. And new things, somebody has a birthday. Well, they show up with a new pair of jeans or a new pair of shoes or a new iPod or a new whatever. I grew up with a family of 8 kids in 10 years, one income. Okay. The only time we got gifts was birthday. We got an Easter basket, and then Christmas was like the big time. Right. And it wasn't a lot. It was just, it seemed like a lot because that's when we had our gifts. So we have made Christmas into this commercialization of the Christ child. And yet the world doesn't seem to have Christ in it anymore. Like, I'm searching for him and he's really hard to find. So what you have to do is remember, as parents, we are the primary educators of our children.
Yeah.
So you have to be the voice of reason, right? I have many friends who do three gifts for the 3 wise men. That's it. Like, they have 3 gifts. And there's something that the kid, our friend Catherine does this. There's something that the child really, really wants. There's something that is meaningful from the parents. And then I can't remember, the third thing is a religious thing. And they have done this for years and years and years in this family. It's a beautiful tradition, right?
Yeah.
But it keeps Christmas, that part of Christmas, tightly bound.
Right.
Okay. Instead of this free for all, because what happens in January, that MasterCard and Visa bill shows up, and you also have the heating and the electric bill, and you have the mortgage, and then everybody's sick. So you have the doctor's bills. How are you going to pay for all of that?
Right.
We as a country have lived beyond our means for generation. And I am speaking myself. I am not judging anybody else.
Guilty. Yeah.
I know what I tend to use shopping as an emotional crutch for myself. And I've worked on it for years.
It's so easy now with Amazon.
So easy. Just pick up your phone and just click and it's there. Right. But what is the meaning behind it? One year, when our son was in college, what we did for Christmas was we talked about it as a family, and we agreed to have 1 gift per person, right? So we picked a name out of the little, it was just the 4 of us. We picked the name out. And so somebody bought for the other person. And then the money that we would have spent, so we have a budget for Christmas. Then we went to the angel tree at church, and each of us picked an angel.
Yeah.
And so we took the remainder of that and spent that on that family. And then we got to deliver it to the family.
Yes.
And let me tell you, there is nothing that will fill your heart with joy than giving to someone who has nothing, or who has something, but just not enough to subsist. Right. There's nothing there. This is a season of giving for a reason, right? It's not just a tax deduction. It's what it does to us. So if budgets are important, and the money is out of control, and you're getting yourself into debt for Christmas, you need to sit down and have a little talk with the Lord. And you need to sit down with your children and adjust expectations.
Yes,
You know,
exactly.
my
Yeah.
parents sat down with us and they were like, this is going to be a lean year. And this is why.
Right.
But
Right.
we love you and God loves you and there will be gifts, but you need to adjust your expectations.
Yeah, it's good. So what about there's an anxiety for me that comes along with the social gatherings that I feel required to say yes to. Whether it's because I'm, going with my husband to a work thing, or I feel like I need to help the room mom with the classroom thing, because it really is a fun party that I would like to go to, that's social, and yet social things kind of exhaust me. But then there's the food and the drink that goes along with it too, and just making ridiculous choices as far as food and drink go. The social anxiety leads to more of those ridiculous choices. So what about that? What about the festivity of it all and the ways that can be either healthy or harmful? Because of course we do need to be connected. We love our communities. How have you found balance with some of that?
Well, you're talking to the original yes girl. There's never an invitation I have said no to until I would say the last 10 years or so.
You made up FOMO.
Yes, I did. Why are we afraid of missing out? We're afraid of missing out because we're afraid of being unseen, and we're afraid of being forgotten. We're afraid of being set aside. Okay. So I have always been an outlier in my life. I am always been the person on the outside. Many people, when I say that, they're like, no, you're not. No, you're not. Yeah, I am. I know who I am, and I know where God placed me for good reason.
Yeah.
And so what I've learned as far as the balance of the social activities are, Jerry and I sit down and we go through what is important to us. What would our hearts really be sad if we missed this event? Am I going to be sad if I miss helping at the school? Nope, not going to be sad.
Yeah.
Am I going to be sad if I miss my mom's St. Nicholas Day gathering where all of my siblings and their children are together once a year? Yes, I will be sad. Does that stress me out? Yes, but I can manage that stress because I have the room, because there's not all of this other stuff. A work gathering. Is it one where spouses are going? Or is it one where they're just going and they have sort of a loose invitation for spouses? If that's a loose invitation, I say, you go enjoy your glass of wine, your beer, whatever. Yeah. I will be home making dinner and you can come by after happy hour. It's great. I'm great. And I'll be in my bathrobe and fluffy, slippers, happily sipping on my hot cup of tea, waiting for my beloved to return. Happy as a clam, right? So you have to learn to say no. No is not a bad word. It's very needed in our society. We need to say it to our children. We need to say it to ourselves quite often, right? So you have to look at your calendar. I have people in my life who are out in the month of December every single night at one event or another, 7 days a week. And by the time they get to January, they look like a wet wash rag.
Oh my gosh,
out.
I know.
And there's no joy. Even the biggest extrovert still needs time to rest. And so it's been interesting to watch as they get older, how they begin to say no, right? Children come, they begin to say no. It's not as important anymore. So you have to decide what is most important to you and rank it.
I love that.
We're going to
so
say
much.
yes to 5 gatherings for the entire month of December. Which
Yeah.
ones? And if they're gatherings that include your children, sit down with your children. Which ones do you guys want to attend? This is Uncle Jerry's party, and he's going to have da 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 da.
Right.
Or this is Mrs. Rambuck's party in the neighborhood, and she's going to have blah, 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 blah. Well, maybe Mrs. Rambuck is the one that used to meet them at the school bus every day with, chocolate chip cookies and hot cocoa because you were working full time. Yeah. Okay. Well, she becomes more important than Uncle Jerry that they just see twice a year, and he does weird balloon animals. Okay. We don't care about that. Okay.
Yeah.
We don't. So
we're going to pass
We're going to pass on that. And it's okay to say no. And guess what? You don't have to explain to anybody why you said no.
It's a complete sentence. I just learned this from a friend from an interview. It's coming out later. The interview's coming out later than yours. This is going to air sooner, but that was one of her quotes that I'm like, oh yes, no is a complete sentence. Love it so much.
Complete sentence. And you don't have to clarify. Just say, I'm so sorry we can't be with you this year. I hope you guys have a great time.
It's so good.
Done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's even too much, like that's,
Yeah.
I tend to word vomit. So that's what happens. with me.
Right. I make a million excuses, and then
Yeah.
I'll lie. I will compromise, and I will lie in order to, and it's always
Why?
like, why?
Because
The
you feel like they're going to talk about you. Why aren't they here? Are they too good for, I mean, come on, all the cattiness comes out, and it's like an episode of the great 80s show Dallas in our head. Who killed JR, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we don't care because he's gone, and it's fine. Jesus
We've
is still
made peace
coming.
with it.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
We have.
Well, it's funny because I feel like a lot of what you're saying is kind of a know thyself thing.
Yes.
It's like it's being able to, again, take the moment and then to analyze, okay, here's my capacity. Here's what I'm capable of. By the way, we all have different capacities.
Correct.
I can handle 2 things a week. I know that if there's that third thing a week, it's going to push me over my edge. Okay, so here are the 2 things a week. So know thyself. But then also, just another component of knowing thyself is, what's the sin beneath the sin? Because I just compromised my integrity. I just lied to you about why I can't come with some more noble excuse besides I don't want to. I'm thinking of, the whole time you were talking, I was thinking of that meme or that t-shirt or whatever that says, invite me, but I don't want to come. I want to be invited, but I don't want to come.
Well, and that's the whole idea with being seen, right?
Right.
So we want to be seen. So you want to get the invitations. Oh,
I want the invitation.
That's so wonderful. We want the invitation.
But I have to look at the sin beneath the sin. So if the lie is the sin, what's the sin beneath the sin? And it is, I am trying to get a shortcut to intimacy. I am trying to stay seen in your in your sphere of influence.
Realm of influence. Yep.
Yeah. I want to be someone important to you. There are, and so then once I can recognize that, I'm like, oh, well, if that's what this is about, there are other ways to do that don't cost me as much.
Yes. It's called Meet for Coffee on January 5th.
Exactly.
When the kids go back to school and you need a little connection with someone.
Yes,
we're just
Lenaburg.
not going to be able to make it this Christmas. But hey, let's grab coffee in January.
But I
and February.
value you. And then and how much more intimate is that? I mean, if intimacy, have you heard like all sin comes from some holy desire? It's like, but it's like we make these shortcuts that are ugly. It's like, I mean, even Jesus was tempted in the desert, but he was tempted with good things. It was like, here's a faster way than the cross.
Right. Satan's never going to make it ugly, or else why would we do it?
Right.
Everything he does has an element of beauty and truth to it.
Yes.
Which is why we're
intimacy
attracted
with you.
to it.
Yeah.
Right.
And here's a truer way to get this thing that I desire.
Yeah. It takes some spiritual and emotional maturity in order to make these decisions. These are not decisions that I made well in my 20s and 30s.
Right.
I didn't.
Right.
I did all the things. I was desperate to be seen, to be known, to be loved. And then something happens in the middle, you start into your 40s and your give a damn button gets broken, and you just start to be like, and then you hit 50. I am now 55. And it's like, done. Like, it's not even in the room. I don't know where the give a damn is. It's just gone. Because what matters to me now is I want a good, solid relationship with my husband. He is my path to sanctification. He is my vocation. Right. Yeah. And so when I'm tripsing and traipsing all over the place, I'm not with him. Yeah. And therefore, it's like, well, hi, nice to see you on December 15th for 20 minutes before I have to go to another gathering, Yeah. So I want that connection. I want a connection with my son, my daughter-in-law, and my grandson. And if the Lord blesses them with more children, future, grandchildren, that means something to me. They mean something to me. My mother, who is still with us, she's the only grandparent living on both sides of the family. That time is precious. She's 82. And the woman was just in a kayak 2 weeks ago. Okay. So I want to be her when I grow up. Me too. She's just amazing. But, so those things are important to me. My friendships, my true, authentic friendships, not my acquaintances. Those are lovely people, and I love them, and I care for them, and I pray for them, and I pray for their children, all of that. But the women who will pick up the phone at 3 a.m. They get my time.
Yeah. And again, everything is going back to how you started this out, which is a moment to ascertain what you value. these
of
are the things
silence.
that are important to me. Okay, well, now that I know that, I can arrange my life around these things that I have elevated as truly important. Okay, I want to do one more, and then we can kind of start to get specific about, I don't know. Well, we'll see. So what about boundaries with difficult family members, Mary Lenaburg? Because we, I think, can feel a little hopeful about this time of year. And then when we gather, we realize, oh, you're just the same old obnoxious opinion spouting uncle who makes balloon animals, apparently. I'm sorry. Uncle Jerry's probably lovely.
Boundaries are really important around the holidays, especially. I don't think there's any other time of the year they are as important as when we're gathering for big gatherings. People don't change overnight. Okay. If you have not taken the time to build on that relationship throughout the year, to take the time to have the intimate one-on-one conversations, to build the friendships and to build, then if you think you're going to sit down to Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas dinner or the holiday gathering with the white elephant, gifting, and you think that it's just going to magically get better, then I would like to know what you're drinking, because it's really good stuff. And we all need a glass of it. Okay. It's just not going to happen. They're not going to change. So what do? I have 6 brothers and a sister, 6 sisters-in-law. I love them. I love every single one of them. I'm closer to some siblings more than others, just simply by age and experience. And not all of us have remained in the church. We come from very different political views in my family. It's a very international family. It looks like the United Nations when we all sit down. I have sisters-in-law from different nationalities. And it's awesome. And I love them. And I love everything that they bring to our family. And I love to watch my brothers with them and to love their wives and love their children. But everyone is unique and unrepeatable. And therefore, my boundary is I walk into these things with no expectations. Okay. They aren't going to disappoint me. They aren't going to make me feel seen. Whatever the up or the down is, they're not. There's no expectation. I am happy to see them. I want to know about their life, what they're willing to share with me. I want to talk to my nieces and nephews who are now going into college and high school. And I remember the day they were born. How are you? Who are you? Right. And I lay out 0 expectations. So when I get in that car at the end of the night, I am not wounded. I am not crying. I am not mad, because I met them where they were.
That's right.
I also agree in my mind, and Jerry and I agree beforehand, what we will talk about as far as our family is concerned. What are topics that I feel like we can share with my siblings without judgment and so forth. And what is just for us, right? We're not walking billboards of this is everything in Mary and Jerry's life. No, because there are some things that are private family matters and need to remain private family matters.
Right.
And some of my siblings get that and some of them don't. And I know that about them. So then I know what I can share. And so by having that hard boundary for myself, we also have a time limit. It doesn't matter if we're having the best time of our life. We are there for 2.5 hours.
Nice.
And we are gone. That's it. And they know that. Like, we come in and I start the clock. And unless, the dinner was late or something, I mean, obviously there's some leeway there.
Sure. Yeah.
But in our minds, we are like, we are here. We are fully present here. We put our phones away unless we're taking pictures. Nobody answers their phone. And we are fully present to these people in our lives for the time that we're there. And then we hug everybody. We wish you Merry Christmas and we go. Now, there have been some years when we learned how to do that, because in the beginning of our marriage, we were a walking billboard. Here's everything about our life, which then brought everybody into our life with judgment, with, oh, you should do this, or why aren't you doing this? And then you just feel like you're not doing anything right. You're not parenting right. You're not doing your marriage right, all of that. So boundaries are really, really important. So decide how long you're going to spend with them. Decide to meet them where they are. Decide what you're going to discuss. And if they start going off on some religious tangent or political tangent, or they start gossiping, which is huge in families, about somebody else, then you just shut it down. And that has happened to me where I'm like, you know what? I don't feel comfortable with this conversation.
Okay. Yeah.
I think if you have that question, you need to go and ask them yourself.
Nice.
And I walk away, and they all know that.
Can we have another example of a sentence for excusing yourself from a conversation? So if around the table things get too political, what would you say?
You say, I respect your opinion. Everybody has an opinion, and they're entitled to their opinion. And I respect your opinion as a human being. I disagree with you. And this conversation is getting a little heated for me, and I'm uncomfortable. And therefore I'm going to go and get another glass of wine.
Okay. I like it.
That might be too much word vomit, but you could take that and parse it down. Right.
Yeah.
Or, in my situation, Jerry is a convert. So whenever we've been with other extended family on his side, we get the whole pushback on the fact that Jerry converted and became Catholic. And that'll start up, especially with some of our older relatives. And you'll just be like, he loves Jesus and you love Jesus. So how about we talk about that?
Nice.
Done.
Yeah.
And
good,
we're out.
Good. Oh, thank you, Mary. You're going to say this in a way that is better. The way that I'm going to say it, it sounds too harsh. But I think you'll know what I mean, and then you can fix it. But something that was really transformative for me was, I don't need anything from you anymore. I did earlier. And then I realized that I'm already full. Like, I am in charge of my own happiness. I don't need you. I guess you said it you said it differently earlier, that in a way where you said, I don't need you to meet any need of mine, or something along those lines.
You have to remember that, again, this is all about self-awareness, and you have to take the time to journal it out, to talk it out. If you need counseling, go. Girlfriends are great for this, over a glass of wine, to kind of troubleshoot these types of feelings and situations that we hold and harbor in our hearts. But the idea that we don't need something from someone reveals in you that there was a need.
Yeah.
If you have to say, I don't need anything from you, that means at one point you did, because now you have to say no, right?
Yeah.
So there is a difference between joy and happiness. My happiness is dependent on everybody else. You can make me unhappy because you didn't smile at me and wave at me in the elevator, right? You have that power if I give you that power, right? Joy is something that comes from the Lord, and it's a deep, abiding peace that exists in my heart, that I can walk into the most contentious situation and I can smile through the whole thing, and I can meet people where they are, because hurt people hurt other people. You can see all the hurt displayed in front of you, and you can still meet it with empathy, compassion, and love, even though you want to run with your hair on fire in the opposite direction.
Right. So if I am filled up from here to here, meaning me and the Lord, I can walk into a place full. And then what you said earlier, meet you where you are, because I don't need anything from you, because I have it right here. And
because
so
you already have.
That's right. I just get to let people be people, like people are just people. And that's,
and they are.
That's disappointing, but okay.
Well, okay. So let's talk about that for a minute. You're disappointed in people, right? You're like, gosh, I wish they didn't vote that way last time. I wish they didn't do this. I wish they didn't believe this. I wish they would stop speaking about this. Okay, well, let's flip it, right? What is it in your life that they wish you didn't do?
Yeah.
Okay, because if you're reacting to what they're doing, it's convicting something inside you.
Yeah.
Okay, other people are a mirror. Children are a mirror to your soul. Right? If they're bugging you, if there's something they're needling you about, there's something in you that it is ticking off, and you're like, oh, don't do that. Don't do. I already shoved that down. I put that. No, you've got to dig it up, and you've got to let the light come, and you've got to let Jesus heal it, and then you can move forward in wholeness. There are still things in my life that the Lord is healing and will be healing for the entirety of my life until I am with Him.
Absolutely, we don't get to wipe our hands with that one.
I have to know that.
Yeah,
you just have to. You have to allow Him to come in. He cannot heal what you don't bring to Him.
That's right.
And that's why our world is so fractured, because we are all so broken and we're all so stuck within ourselves that anybody that comes at us with judgment or advice, the advice, or opinions, we feel threatened by.
Yeah.
Because we have not allowed the Lord to heal what was broken.
So good. So good. Yeah. Thank you
so
so much.
You gotta open it up. You gotta unzip the heart, and you've got to let him do some surgery.
Yeah.
And you've got to let him, begin the healing process.
Yeah.
And Advent is a beautiful, beautiful time for that.
Right. Exactly. So, throughout this conversation, we've talked about, just as antidotes, we've talked about, managing our time better by getting things done early or getting things done in stages. We've talked about managing our expectations. We've talked about, not expecting too much out of people, expecting too much out of how a room looks, expecting too much out of what a social gathering is going to bring us or not bring us. I think that there are just a few little things too, like getting the sleep we need. Like my balances are always tipped if I'm not maintaining some sort of routine. If you, this has all been so useful and wonderful, so many practical things, and then so many like larger level things too, of just, looking inside yourself and doing some interior work. But if you were to leave us, Mary, with the thing, like the one thing that you want us to either walk away with from this conversation, enter into this season with, if you could leave us with something you really wanted to impart that felt important, what would that be?
A person who lives with hope lives differently. Okay. God is faithful and he is true. And he hears your prayers, and everything that he allows in your life is for your good and his glory. Now, I may want to have some conversations with him about a few things that he's allowed, but it's always in the darkest places where we need him the most, where the biggest moments of growth happen in our lives. Yeah. And, joy and suffering go hand in hand. They walk hand in hand. They're a great couple. Yeah. And there will be years of Christmas that are joyous and beautiful memories. And there'll be years at Christmas time where you are devastated and sad and feel like you can't get out of bed. That's life. It's a cycle that we go through. It's the beauty of the liturgical year to hit those moments of rest and those moments of desert so that we can meet him and figure it out. Yeah. But if you don't have hope, there's no purpose to it. Yeah. And so we as Christians live as people of hope. Yeah. Because God sends us a baby who changes everything.
What specifically are you hopeful for, Mary, as a last question? And then we'll get into where people can follow you in all the places.
I am hopeful for life. I am so grateful for the gift of my life, the gift of my husband's life, the gift of my son, my daughter, even though she's not physically with us anymore. I'm so joyful about them, about the future. I'm hopeful for a coming year of just growth in our family. A baby changes everything, right? Here comes Jesus. He changes everything. A grandchild has come into our family, and he's changed everything. And I'm hopeful for our world. I'm hopeful for friendship. People over policies, people over everything. Yeah. Meet people where they are, and you will be amazed how much you have in common with them.
Yeah. I know that you are just doing beautiful things online and in your home and within your family. Where can we follow? What projects can we support? We want to know everything.
We want to know everything. Well, I've written 2 books. So Be Brave and the Scared, which was written all about our journey with Courtney and just life and how the Lord met us along
Christmas
the way.
Gift.
It would. Be Bold and the Broken is more comical, a little more humorous about my life growing up. Then I have a cookbook that's available on my website and on Instagram. I spend most of my time online on Instagram. So it's at Mary Lenaburg. I would love for you to follow me there. I bake. I just I do I do so many different things because I can't make up my mind what I love the most. So I just
know. And you and your husband are so precious together. Mary Lenaburg is the most fun follow. She lets you into so much of her life. Nothing is off limits. She will even tell you when she can't figure out how to end a speech. Like you get all the details with Mary Lenaburg. So follow on Instagram for sure. Buy the things all together as Christmas gifts. It would make a beautiful bundle. I'm just
and then at marylenaburg.com, they can find out where I'm speaking and where I'm going to be next.
Yes. And yes, hire Mary Lenaburg as a speaker. There. Please. Like, I have chills all over. Do that. Do that above all.
Do that.
And so that's number one. And then the rest are, other really, really strong suggestions. But the first might be a command. So, okay. Thank you a million times over. You have made my whole day. I'm going to be beaming and floating the rest of it. This was all really, really important and helpful. I cherish you.
Thank you, friend. I cherish you as well. It was a joy.
Merry Christmas. I'm not allowed to say that yet. See, I'm a convert too, so I.
Oh, here you go. So here in Advent, I'm like, Happy Advent and Merry
Happy
Christmas.
Advent. Okay, got it. Happy Advent, Mary Lenaburg. I love you.
Because I'm hoping for Christmas.
Okay. Oh, you say both. You say both at the same time?
Yeah, I do. Oh. Yeah, I say Happy Advent, Merry Christmas.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I feel seen. Look at that. Bye, Mary. Love you.
Love you too.
Sinners, saints, sisters, do you need a speaker for your event? Do you need someone to lead your retreat? It would be all my joy to serve and spread God's love to you and the people you gather with compassionate leadership, Bible-based teaching, authentic life stories, and a lot of laughter at heart. You can reach me at sinnersaintsister@gmail.com. Hello, Taylor Schroll.
Hello, Allison Sullivan.
It has been a long time since you have blessed Sinner Saint Sister. You bless Sinner Saint Sister all the time behind the scenes, but not in front of the scenes. So thank you for being here to talk about Advent.
How can you be in front of a scene? I feel like I'm in the scene.
Yeah, it's in the scene. You're right. Yeah. It was.
Everybody get out your 3D goggles. This is the 3D portion of Sinner Saint Sister.
That was a nuance that you correct my grammar surprisingly more than I would have thought, because I feel pretty competent, but you.
That's why
I make mistakes, and you're like, but you save me a lot, actually. So we're here to talk about Advent. How much do you love Mary Lenaburg?
Oh, she's the best. She's
the
like,
best. What do you love about Mary Lenaburg? Because I kind of couldn't shut up about it.
She's just so loving and caring, and she like from the beginning, like when I met her, like I just felt like she cared like about me and for me.
Yeah.
Like from the get-go. Like I hadn't done anything to earn it. Right? She just loved me. And like when you did the interview, like typically I like hit record and I walk away. Yeah. And I like just kind of stood here for a while. I was like, I kind of want to stay.
Yeah. I wish you would have. No, she is. She has a very nurturing spirit. And I don't know, I could never put my finger on what she does to make me feel nurtured in her presence. But like even now, after that conversation with her, I feel so well cared for. It's such a beautiful gift that she so lovingly shares. Like you could keep that all to yourself and just let your family be blessed by it. But she gives it away. She's so generous with it. So we talked about Advent, which is tricky. Like it's tricky. And you and I have talked about this on your show, which friends, by the way, go ahead and go subscribe to Forte Catholic. But we talked on your show about Advent that it's tricky for a lot of reasons. It's like there's unrealistic expectations of perfection. There's a lot of people pleasing. There's just a lot of demands. We spread ourselves too thin and think that we can eat and drink all willy-nilly and not, have any consequences.
Spreading yourself too fat. Yeah.
But we're saying yes to too many things. And what I have loved about the church's kind of prescribed season is that there are things to focus on instead. Like that there is an alternative. So firstly, I want to hear about how this might be tricky for you. But then after we've kind of commiserated about how this is a wonky time, I would love for us to go through that prescription of hope, peace, love, and joy and kind of counteract it that way. So how are the holidays tricky for you? Or are they? Are they even tricky for you at all?
Yeah, they are. I think one of the weirdest things about any holidays for me is like it often, I expect it to be a break and it never really feels like a break.
Yeah.
Because like, it's like, oh yeah, I don't have to work for 5 days. But what that means for me is that I have to do 10 days of work in the 5 days before.
Yeah.
And like, so then I'm like stressed. And by the time I get to where I'm relaxing, I'm like on edge and frustrated and I can't relax. Like the relaxing starts by the time I have to come back to work.
Absolutely. Yes. The Europeans are onto something. They take vacations for 2 weeks. Did you know that? It's like, who can afford that?
I figured they didn't work much.
Okay. So this prescription to instead, it's like this counterbalance of all of those things that we just named. What are you hopeful for?
Speaking of things that I struggle with, that is the one that I struggle with. Oh, hope. I just think I am who I am, both good and bad, and I don't think it's going to change.
Ooh,
Like I'm like I just kind of always expect the status quo. I don't think I'm going to get better, like as a person, as a podcaster, as a Christian. Like, but I also don't really think I'm going to get worse.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of like cruising.
Yeah.
So hope is hard when you're just cruising. You're just like, meh, whatever. You know.
Yeah. Autopilot doesn't like anticipate for much. You expect to just be able to do that for a while. I am really hopeful. I have felt a real lack of hope with just, and I talk about it a lot on the podcast, but our society, but not to get too deep into all that right now, but like the way that we are attached to our phones. And because I'm seeing it in my oldest, I'm like, man, I think that we're just destined to, put these little bulletins out about our latest hot takes, and we're just destined to be divided. And so I would really like to cultivate more hope about some reconciliation and redemption as far as kind of where we've been.
Is your oldest now a mirror for you? Do you see him on his phone too much? You realize, oh man, he learned that from me.
Well, honestly, so on TikTok, so I get a lot of feedback about teenagers that are saying, man, I wish I had a mom like that. So I have a lot of messages come in, and someone said that I wish my mom knew that she's just as addicted as I am. It's like, wow, that's powerful.
Amidst all these compliments about how great you are, you're like, damn it. That's the one you focus on because we lack
guilty.
hope.
I know, right? Touche. Okay, so where would you like more peace in your life, Taylor?
You kind of brought it up. I think it's in relationships. And both like in real human relationships, but also in like online relationships. One of the things that you both like about me and hate about me is that like we are both people on the internet, and internet comments don't bother me.
Yeah. It's a marvel.
Right. But here's where I lack peace. It finally happened. I cracked last night.
With a comment?
Yeah. Because I never care about people that don't know me and don't care about me saying negative things.
Yeah. Because
I'm pretty confident. It's like, if you're saying, typically on the internet, it's like, oh, you suck at podcasting, or how dare you say that about the church? You're a bad Catholic or whatever. It's like, I'm confident enough in those things that doesn't bother me. A friend did it yesterday.
Oh.
A friend was like, you're being I made a very simple joke, to a person who our entire relationship is us jabbing at each other.
Yeah.
And it started with him, if we're being honest. And so I said a joke. He blocked me. And then one of our other mutual friends came in and was like chastising me about how I'm a bad person.
Oh, no.
And I was like, oh, that one hurts. So I need peace in relationships. Yeah. We talked, you and I talked at length on my show about how like the in-person relationships for me have been kind of wonky. And I want some peace in that. And hopefully with the slower time, I can make some time to work on relationships and friendships. But man, I cracked last night. I thought about you and smiled because I'm like, Allison's going to be so happy that I was so upset.
I thought you were going to say so pissed that someone made me mad, because I am.
It's both, because you both, like I said, you both love and hate that they typically don't bother me. They finally did. So I was frustrated for about an hour, and my first smile was, Allison's going to love this.
I need to hear more about this. Yeah. Okay, so hope, peace, love. Where are you experiencing a lot of love? Where would you like to lean into love? What's love looking like these days?
What's love got to do with it?
What does it have to do with it? Apparently a lot.
I feel like I have felt very loved by our church community after many years of not feeling loved by our church community.
That's great.
We just wrapped up a ministry that I've been running here at our parish, and like
I love that for you.
People have just been so kind.
Yeah,
like so kind. Like in thanking me and the other person that have been running it, and just very kind words, and like so participants, other people who have heard about it have been kind. Like our pastor has been kind. Like it's been really nice.
Yeah,
and like a place where I needed to like.
Yeah.
It's a place, my church is somewhere that I've wanted to receive love for so long and I didn't for so long.
Yeah.
So to get that, it's been pretty healing.
And it's been inspiring for me to watch. It's been, and by inspiring, I mean, I should do that, so I appreciate that. Love the way that it's been fun for me lately is that my kids are getting older. So I feel like we had our kids really close together and it was battle. When they were all really little together, and now it's like they're all really big kids together. And so I enjoy this it comes with new challenges, but I'm really loving it. And I can get really specific and they can get really specific back about how am I loving you well? How could I do better? So I'm really loving leaning in to all of that. Okay. Last, joy. What's bringing you joy, or what would you like to bring you joy that isn't?
Yeah. It's funny, we're bookending it. Like hope is the one that I struggle with and have always struggled with the most. Like joy actually comes pretty easy to me. Yeah. Because like even when I'm not happy, like there's just that foundation of joy.
Taylor's a really loud laugher.
Yeah. I muted that laugh just for you. There you go.
Save your ears.
Right.
And earbuds are a little tough with Taylor.
Yeah. But I just like it's been a pretty, I wouldn't say rough, but like stressful few weeks. And it's like, I've still been happy, like there's been moments where I haven't been happy, but it's like, there's that deep underlying joy that like sustains me through times that aren't happy, but I can still be joyful.
I'm really looking forward to downtime. I'm hoping that does not lead to disappointment because it ended up not feeling like downtime at all. But again, I'm loving my people so much. I'm appreciating not feeling like I'm in a battlefield, even though that felt really important.
Why does love always feel like a battlefield? Oh my gosh,
this is another one I don't know.
I sang a song earlier that was from your time and you didn't know it. And then I think I just sang one that was after your time.
There's lots of generational jokes here. Right. They're hilarious. Anyways, I am excited. I feel a lot of joy to be able to lean into my people without agenda. I love not having a schedule. It's my favorite thing. So yeah.
That's great. I'm happy for you.
Yeah. Well, Mary Lenaburg gave me permission to say Happy Advent and Merry Christmas. I'm just going to say it all together and I don't have to worry on if I'm doing it right or wrong. Mary said so.
Yeah. Anybody who cares is a weirdo.
Okay. Oh, I like that too.
I was going to be meaner, but then I forgot. I remembered I was on your show. I was like, that would be kind of nice.
Look at you minding your manners and using a filter on my show. Oh, this is great. All right. Happy Advent and Merry Christmas.
Happy Christmas.
Merry Advent.
Yeah. Mary Lenaburg.
That all stays. Yeah. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here. A very special thank you to all guests and sponsors. A really special thank you to Taylor Schroll for mixing and editing. For more content, you can head over to Instagram at Allison M. Sully and TikTok at Sullivan Family TikTok. You can also check out Forte Catholic and subscribe there, where you have a 25% chance of hearing me co-host. I am so grateful for all of the love and support that we offer each other here.
Today's show was a production of Allison Sullivan in conjunction with the Forte Catholic Podcast Network. For more great Catholic podcasts, head on over to fortecatholic.com/podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts.